The Trump University case heating up, the judge just releasing sealed documents, and the Donald responding by insulting him. Shocker. What type of legal strategy will that be? Then, frustration over immigration. The Justice Department says the judge hearing a pivotal immigration case is way off base and also overreaching. Our panel of attorneys, they're going to hash it out. Also, as we know, the gorilla has been killed, the kid safely rescued, but the police still investigating. Now the parents. Could they face charges, and should they be able to sue the zoo? Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday evening. Well, tonight it's all about the law, and we start with the Trump University case where a judge just unsealed documents in the class action suit. Our Andrew Whitman, he digs into the cases against the Donald.
At Trump University, we teach success. That's what it's all about, success. It's going to happen to you.
That was the hook used by Donald Trump to entice would-be students into Trump University. More than 7,000 people attended seminars, netting the university $40 million in income and $5 million to Trump himself. But Trump University wasn't really about success for anyone but Trump. That, according to former students and instructors in the 400-page release from a federal judge overseeing a class action case against Trump University, documents that echo filings in a similar case brought by New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman and by former Trump University students I spoke with off camera. The real mission of the so-called university?
If you're going to achieve anything, you have to take action. And action is what Trump University is all about.
Taking action, but not in the real estate market. According to a former Trump University sales manager, quote, Trump University was only interested in selling every person the most expensive seminars they possibly could, using live events and seminars driven by high-pressure front-end salesmen inexperienced in real estate making high-pressure sales. That manager added, quote, I believe that Trump University was engaging in misleading, fraudulent, and dishonest conduct. The court documents show carefully crafted scripts designed to help staffers get students to spend more and more money, including how and how long to use students' emotions to get them to spend more. Students were told to max out their credit cards, ostensibly so they could buy real estate using the tools they would be taught at Trump University. But in reality, a former events manager testified Trump University was only interested in selling every person the most expensive seminars they could possibly buy on credit. The students/victims range from eager but uneducated or ill-informed would-be investors to the homeless and the elderly. The sales manager recalling one elderly couple who could not afford the $35,000 elite-level seminar without risking their disability income or home equity. When he refused to sell to them, he was reprimanded and another salesperson closed the deal. His conclusion, quote, I believe that Trump University was a fraudulent scheme and that it preyed upon the elderly and uneducated to separate them from their money. Trump has since claimed he had no day-to-day involvement in the school, but testimony suggests he was involved in the marketing, where he suggests students can make millions and perhaps become Trump's next apprentice. And then there are the instructors.
If you don't learn from the people that we're going to be putting forward, and these are all people that are hand-picked by me, then you're just not going to make it in terms of the world of success.
They were not handpicked by Trump, nor were they real estate experts. In fact, quote, many of the speakers, instructors, and mentors lacked real estate experience. Many of them did not even own houses and had no experience buying or selling real estate. For example, wrote the events manager, one instructor had no real estate experience. He was a jewelry salesman. As for Trump, his campaign again said the positive reviews given by students show the number of complaints were small. And Trump spokeswoman Hope Hicks noted, quote, Trump University looks forward to using this evidence along with much more to win when the case is brought before a jury. Trump's lawyers also say the testimony of former employees was, quote, completely discredited in depositions taken for the California lawsuit. But the lawyers did not release those depositions. The conclusion from the documents released? Trump sold students on learning and benefiting from his experience, using his greed to fuel theirs, and in the process take their money. Now compare that to this quote from Trump, the presidential candidate.
My whole life I've been greedy, greedy, greedy. I've grabbed all the money I could get. I'm so greedy. But now I want to be greedy for the United States. I want to grab all that money.
Same message, different goal. For RFL, I'm Andrew Whitman reporting.
Thank you, Andrew. Let's bring in our panel right now. Jim Koutsouras, criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, sitting on the board of directors of the New York City Criminal Bar Association, frequently lecturing at New York Law School and the bar associations in both Queens and New York City. Doug Von Ois, founding partner of Carson Von Ois, focusing on corporate misconduct, selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most.
Cooked this suit up.
Yeah.
This is right out of his
I was
playbook.
thinking, Mark, thanks for the confirmation.
Forget the Trump playbook. This is the Von Ois playbook. Right?
And we will get to that. Mayo Bartlett, an attorney at the law offices of Mayo Bartlett PLLC and a former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at the Westchester County DA's office, and Mark Furnish, who will try and see if we can squeeze a word out of him tonight, the shy one, professor at Brooklyn Law, has argued before the U.S. Supreme Court. All right, let's go to the Von Ois School of Law here, but this doesn't look good, Doug, and we'll get to the judge and what Trump said about him and everything else. But what we've learned from these unsealed documents, is it just that it was a shady operation, or in some ways, is the very marketing tapes that Trump puts out false representation of what people were going to get?
Well, I think you have to separate out, what looks bad and what's an actual viable lawsuit here. I mean, you're allowed to puff up your products. You're allowed to make certain representations that may not be completely accurate. By the way, that's the law. You're allowed to do those things when you sell. The question is whether there's material misstatements that affect these students. And quite frankly, I heard a lot of bad things that may embarrass Donald Trump, but I don't hear a lot of, about a viable lawsuit.
Jimmy, to me, the most damaging stuff that were alleged were, if I'm gonna, first of all, it's almost like usury lenders in terms of they're targeting people here, whether they're the elderly, the homeless people. They're trying to get them to max out their credit cards. Now, whether that's amoral or illegal, we'll get to. But the other parts, the representations that I'm going to provide you, if you come to Trump U here, or you write me the check more specifically, experts in the field, that I Trump, and that's what you're buying. You're buying my name here, that I'm hand-selecting these people, and I'm going to shepherd you throughout the process for all of this. A, I didn't have any involvement in picking the people. B, they weren't qualified. And C, you were on your own after I took a few dumps here that I said, good luck if you want to buy this piece of, fill in the blank. Why isn't that, more than false representation, why isn't that actionable?
Well, you've actually drawn the distinction that Doug was talking about. Those, in my view, are the types of misrepresentations that may be actionable. That these instructors were handpicked by Trump, that he is personally going to have involvement in the education that he is promising you, aside from how good that education would be for you and how much you can make from that education. I do think that there are some misrepresentations here that are actionable, and if it gets to a jury, that other stuff is going to hurt, because that other stuff can come in to support the allegations. So I do think that if this comes out in front of a jury, that he's got problems. And I do think there are misrepresentations that are actionable, and calling the judge a Mexican and perhaps taking money out of his pay to build a wall, I'm not sure, is just
that
over
was
the
my
top.
next question, man.
Over the top.
What Jimmy's referencing and people didn't see was not once but twice Trump decided that he was going to insult the judge. Now, first off, Trump made a big point of saying, I don't settle. Right? First of all, he does. But secondly, he said he didn't settle this particular case because he was going to win it. He may regret that, first of all. But second of all, is it good legal strategies to insult a judge, in this case, saying, I don't know about this judge, he's a Mexican. By the way, he was born in Indiana, not to let facts get in the way of a story.
Well, but he's of Mexican origin. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
not false.
And
He's
my
Mexican.
mom's Italian. Calling me an Italian, I think is a bit of a stretch.
Mexican
But
by way of Indiana.
So can he be built for the wall?
Well, we'll find out about
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
I mean, there'll probably be a
That's
separation of
not a good
powers
idea,
for
right?
him if he
I
cuts
mean,
his pay.
You never want to insult the
wall.
judge ever, although strategically it may have been a good idea for him, because we're talking more about those comments than what's the meat of the documents that were released. And to go back, really, you look at the caveat, let the buyer beware, you really have to scrutinize those advertisements. You really have to go into it in detail, because it would surprise me if there was not a disclaimer at the end of it where it says, these representations do not necessarily mean that Donald Trump is handpicking these people, and people will have different experiences. I'm sure they'll be able to come up with somebody who did reasonably well, or
Well,
at least.
they've got it. They released among the documents surveys from the students that graded them. 97% of the student body graded it 4.85
on a 1 to 5
But there
scale
are
in terms of their
allegations-
satisfaction.
There are allegations that those students were pressured into giving those positive
Could
reviews.
be, but here's the thing about the talking. I don't know why he chose to single out the judge on the basis of his ethnicity, other than to pander to the base. But it's not like the judge is without recourse against this, because the judge has both statutory and rule-making power to sanction a litigant in a case before him for making comments prejudicial to the administration of justice. And what Trump does by doing this, he really puts the judge into a bind, because if the judge exercises that authority, it just further substantiates the appearance of bias on the judge's part playing right into Trump's narrative. So crazy like a fox. Not that stupid what he did.
Except two things. This playing out, and secondly, what could come out of discovery?
Well, we've already seen what's come out of discovery. I mean, most of what's come out, what's being quoted from these declarations that they call
No,
testimony.
what I'm asking is it limited just to Trump University, or can I show that he's, as a pattern here, he has not met his obligations to whether it be investors or people that he has made promises as to services that he
we
doesn't
don't know
render?
that if there's broader discovery than what's been released so far, we don't know that the judge is going to allow the release of that material to the public. This is what he's allowed to be.
Well, Doug, you've been
released
involved in
so
class
far.
action suits. Wouldn't the first thing you want to do is say, this isn't some guy on a videotape. This is this guy's MO. He never follows through what he promises to deliver here. And more than that, he's going to cut corners. He knowingly. He can't just say that, oh, I wasn't involved. He promised a hands-on approach. I'll go to his properties. I'll go to the resorts that he set up. I'll go to this chapter and verse casinos. And he knowingly, intentionally promises one thing, then attempts to deliver something far less substandard and hopes you chase and sue.
Well,
Because
if there's
you don't sue somebody or litigate on the basis of their character and personality.
But if
Their
you're making the
allegations.
name Trump,
There is a
don't
difference.
you?
Well, if there's a trial, and if he were to testify on behalf of himself, and he said, you know, I'm an honest guy, I never do anything wrong, I would never cheat anybody, then the things that you're talking about could be relevant, brought in.
If he puts his character in issue
But
in the
you
lawsuit.
you don't usually try a lawsuit by pulling in extraneous information. Most judges would never let you do that. In certain cases they do, in certain criminal cases they do, but
But you've got clients before, in other cases unrelated, who've lost their life savings or have been harmed immeasurably by an entity that should have and really could have known better, okay? To pretend that this was an unforeseeable result, given how he ran his operation, of which he had 90%, 97% of an ownership stake in. The buck's got to stop with him.
If they prove listen, these are allegations in a lawsuit. The own marketing materials that were released in this batch of discovery said their ideal client is a 40 to 54-year-old head of a household, male with a college degree, making $90,000 plus a year. So it's not like widows and orphans that we're talking about here. No. This is their own marketing materials saying who they want.
But they're going to be
enroll in the
depositions
university.
also.
But that's not
when
what
you,
they
when
went
you,
after.
well,
that is what they went after, according to the marketing materials. They'll try the case, the allegations will stand, or they will fall. It's allegations of fraud in the business. They have to show that there was fraudulent intent, that this was not just that they didn't deliver what they promised, that they never intended to deliver.
Well, to me,
and that the
Mayo,
the
forgetting the politics,
misrepresentations
and I
were
want to get a word in
material.
here, it's disgusting what they did to some of these people and how they not only tried to upsell them here, but like threatening and cajoling, max out credit cards here and there. It sounds
I
like
worked
the mob.
in Mellon Bank telemarketing in college. We had the same high-pressure sales scripts
the fifth,
to
Mark.
sell
Yeah, take the fifth.
bank
Very
products
quickly.
as Tupperware. Mellon Bank.
But to Mark's point, banks do that every day, and you have banks right now that are talking about allowing people to take 3% down mortgages again. So when those banks are looking at the average person and they realize full well those people will never meet that financial obligation, it's the same thing.
can I make a quick point? Rich, colleges do this to kids all the time with student loans.
There's a difference every
This is
time.
about making
They take
America
a kid.
great. Everyone does this.
No, they don't.
P.T. Barnum
they
does
don't.
this.
No.
We've
They
got
don't.
criminal cases.
Yeah.
We've got criminal cases with some of
Barnum
these
does this.
allegations.
Right.
We have federal criminal cases.
Don't
with some of these
minimize it,
allegations.
Mark.
There's fraudulent
Don't
intent
minimize it, everybody does.
ab initio.
There's a difference
Ab
with
initio.
for-profit and not-for-profit, and
It's
there's also a
for-profit.
difference, and that's what this is. This is skeevy, it's slimy, and we're going to find out if it's
Maybe
criminal.
it's
All right.
sleazy.
No, not it. It is. That'll be my editorial. More controversy over Obama's executive order when it comes to immigration. Government accusing the judge of being out of control. How will that impact the case? Well, that could impact millions of people.